Welcome to Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians, an interactive panel discussion. Fridays at 1 p.m. Brought to you by the Austin Federation of Musicians and with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee are members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractor 1099 workers, and others work as employee W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or a position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they should give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed private sector employment law attorney of your choice. All right, welcome back. This is Navigating the Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians. Today is July 24th, 2020, a year that we will certainly remember. Let me make sure I'm unmuted here. All right, looks good. Okay. We always go through these websites at the beginning of each broadcast here. Of course, the most important one is the TWC website, which is just twc.texas.gov. That's where all the most up-to-date information is. Also, the Texas Workforce Commission's Facebook page, they put out a lot of stuff there. They have a live stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2. Right after this broadcast on Fridays, anyway, and it's a press conference. You can ask questions, but you have to ask a question of a journalist, and then they ask the question for you. There's also a comment stream that is very active in that broadcast as well. That's a way you might get a question answered, maybe. We also have the Local 433 Musicians Unemployment Information Sharing page, where you can always find these videos and other information that we find to share with each other. And let's see, the AFM433.com COVID-19 resources page is also there. That's AFM433.com/COVID-19. And then, of course, the Who Represents Me page is wrm.capitol.texas.gov, and that website is very important because of that's where you can find out where who your representatives are at the state level and the national level, and also the school board, I think, is on there as well. But the main thing is that you can find out who your Texas senator is, and that's where we've had the most success in getting help for musicians with unemployment. So, joining me today is Wynn. Hello, Wynn. We usually take this time to do beverages. I'm drinking coffee today.
I'm drinking tea.
Beautiful, excellent.
Yeah, it's in a music themed mug that my partner got me from a thrift store a long time ago.
That's gorgeous. Is that a violin in the
yeah,
handle?
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured it was appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. More likely a viola, I suppose, on the handle. But
I'm gonna say it's a viola. You know, like there's no way you can tell exactly what the strings are.
Right. Yeah. Wonderful. Let's see. So we usually take questions if we get them on our email address for the committee, and this is our Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee of Local 433, and people can ask us questions at ucac@afm433.com. It looks like we don't have any this week there. But let's see. It looks like we've got somebody from the committee trying to get into the meeting. Let me just invite him one more time here. If I can. Oh, no, that's not going to work. No. Let's see if I can figure this out real quick. Let's see. We do that quick enough. Yeah. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's see. And then we also take live questions from the chat on the YouTube stream. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you think of something, please let us know in that chat channel there. And oops. Let's see. Oh, looks like somebody's coming in.
Well, there we go.
Hey, it's Mark. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm swell. I couldn't get in on that other address.
Huh. I maybe I sent out the wrong one. I'm not sure, but
Well, the one you just recently sent out, I was able to get in on the other one.
Yeah, there may have been something up with the original link.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm glad y'all made it. Yeah. Mark,
Yeah, we're here.
Mark, we just did
Yeah, here.
beverages here. We're doing coffee, and I think Wynn's
Oh,
doing tea.
You know me,
Yeah.
the old green tea satisfaction.
Excellent.
Hell yeah, brother.
Excellent. Right on. Man, well, we already did the email addresses and the websites and all that. Yeah, I guess the big news this week, of course, is that the $600, the pandemic unemployment assistance, is ending at the end of the month. But for Texas, because of the way that our system works, it actually ends tomorrow, not at
Yeah.
the end of the month.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
We're number one.
We're
yeah.
number one. Yes. So did either of y'all have a maybe a comment about that? What do you think?
It sucks.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
you know,
that's my general sentiment too.
yeah, I'm really terrified about all the people that are not going to be able to pay their rent and, you know, face eviction or face having to move to some place that they don't want to live in, or a much smaller place than they can really deal with, or whatever. I mean, it just seems really cruel to let this run out right now when so many people are still unemployed and facing a really bleak future. It just seems brutal to me.
Amen. I know that it's a good point that you raised about about being able to pay rent and eviction and everything like that. There are things that our governments at whatever level can do. First of all, the federal government could just continue to actually do that. Send the additional $600 a month for that. They could choose to extend that if they so chose. Our state governments could actually, kick in more for that as well. Our state governments could actually enforce, statewide mask orders, which they're starting to do, which will help curb the economic issue long term. They could extend, unemployment further. They could lock down the state again, which is unfortunately going to be necessary. Our local governments could straight up, could extend eviction cancellations, could also cancel the rent like they actually did in Ithaca, New York. Ithaca, New York, after they had a very effective car caravan protest there, actually got the city government to say, all right, so for the duration of the pandemic until, or I forget if they had it like until a defined point, or if it was like, if that was left to be determined. But, the people of Ithaca, New York protested and got their city to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and cancel the rent just for now. And if failing that, we need to, boost the unemployment, amounts that we actually get. And I would encourage anybody watching this to go check out the website canceltherents.org, because that is where you can find a lot of different actions that are happening They're happening all over the country tomorrow, July 25th. And so that website again is canceltherents.org, and that rents is plural.
I'll put that in the chat. Yeah, that's great. Canceltherents.org, huh?
Yeah, full disclosure, I'm a political activist and I'm a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Our organization is putting those protests on all across the country. We've also done that in late March when COVID was really starting to hit hard. And especially, it should matter a lot to Texans, especially, and every other state that's being hit so hard by COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're also a member of the AFM and have a strong tie with our brothers and sisters in IATSE as well.
My dad is my dad's a member of IATSE, and I have I worked when I used to work at like a theatrical lighting place a few years ago. Basically, everybody there that was a tech was part of IATSE as well.
Yeah, unions. We need
Yeah.
unions.
When when I told my dad that I first signed up for AFM, he was like, all right, thanks for joining the union family, because he wants to keep that going. I come from a labor tradition.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah. Well, I wanted to make sure we also, mention the AFM campaign that's specifically about the pandemic unemployment to extend that beyond this month. And the link to that's in the chat, and there's several posts about that on our Facebook information sharing page about unemployment, and also on the regular AFM 433 Facebook page. And that's a very very powerful tool to quickly write a letter to your senator to sort of try to goad them into action on this issue, because they've been sitting on it for months now. They've been sitting on the HEROES Act and not having really any ideas about what they want to do with it. And there's some indication that they're working on it even today, but they just got back in session on Monday, only 4 days ago.
Which is going to be after our unemployment runs out. Yay!
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I did see that the Republicans were discussing a $100 benefit instead of the $600 benefit, which the good news is that might be kind of a negotiating ploy to where they would agree on $300 or $400, even if the $600 goes away.
Right, something in the middle would
Yeah.
certainly be preferable to nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And I mean, to be clear, it's I mean, it's not necessarily going to go down to nothing. You still have that minimum amount that you receive from the state of Texas. It just won't have that boost on top, and next week it won't. I guess we should talk about why that is in Texas. Why next week is not going to happen for that. Do you guys have any information on that, or you want me to kind of go through that?
Well, it's week to week, so it depends on which day of the week your payment request is.
Which is different for everyone, yeah.
Which is different for everyone. So, for example, mine's on Sunday. My understanding is that when I do a payment request on Sunday, I'm not going to get the $600 for the week prior. For the second week, that's what I'm understanding. That may be wrong, but because in other words, the Sunday falls after the $600 has run out. Is that the way you hear it, Aaron, or is that?
Yeah. What were you saying, Wynn?
Oh, well, I was just going to say that's what I've heard too. And just for my own story, my filing date is Friday, which is today. So I'm going to go and do that later. Wait, I forget. I still am a little bit confused by how the system works. Like this, since COVID happened, this is the first time I've ever had to actually be on unemployment. So I'm still kind of learning about it.
You're not alone. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely not alone. Me and 50 million other people. But yeah, that's kind of what I heard too. But like, I think I'm able to file it like Thursday through Saturday. So if I file it today, then would I still get it, or is that even? I'm so confused.
It's very confusing. I can clarify it a little bit. It has to do when you do the payment request, you're requesting for the previous 2 weeks in the past, right? And the weeks the way that they calculate the weeks or the way that they mark the weeks in the Texas system is the reason why it cuts off tomorrow. And it's because our weeks for unemployment in Texas go from Sunday to Saturday, right? So it's the week starts on Sunday, ends on Saturday, right? And so because of that, next week, the month of July runs out on Friday. so it's not a full week, and that's why you won't get the extra pandemic unemployment assistance for next week when you put in your payment request for next week. So
Why do we have to have these heartless hard asses in government that are just like it just we deserve better than this.
It's amazing, yeah. So how it works is like if you're gonna, like if you did a payment request today, it wouldn't be for this week. It would be for last week and the week before that.
Oh, that's right.
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 Mhm.
And that's it'll have the dates on there. They ask you about which, this date to this date did you work. Were you available to work? Were you able to work? All that stuff. So that's where that's going to come in. So you'll get, if you doing a payment request today, you will get the pandemic unemployment assistance. If you do a payment request next week, at any time Sunday through Saturday next week, you'll also get it, because it'll be for this week and the week before, right? It's when you make the request 2 weeks from now and they're asking you about next week, that's the week where you won't get it when you make the payment request for that week, which will be 2 weeks ahead, right? Or 2 weeks later.
Hopefully reinstate it sometime during the next 2 weeks to where
Yes.
we won't do it. I mean, that's the hope here, but I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah, because that September rent is not going to pay itself,
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So, did that help? Did that information? Did that explanation help? Was that?
It's. I think it's still like overarchingly confusing, but that at least makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, when one thing you said earlier, just to clarify in case you were confused, the Thursday through Saturday thing follows your normal payment request date. It doesn't precede it. So if your payment request date is on a Sunday and you miss that one, as some friends of mine have done, you can, the next Thursday through Saturday is when you can still apply.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely, like towards the beginning of my unemployment, when I was just like still not used to it, I definitely missed like the first 3 weeks of whatever I claimed. And so then, because it was the first time and I'd never done it before, it like when I clicked on payment request, it said something like, you've waited longer than 3 weeks, you need to call this number or whatever. And then I had to sit on the phone for like, 3 hours between like collectively between like 3 different phone numbers. Cause like when I called the first phone number, then I went through the whole thing of like, all right, press 3 for this option here. And then, I clicked 3 and then I waited for like another 45 minutes. Then I got disconnected. I tried again, had to press the thing again and waited for another, like, 30 minutes. I got somebody and then they told me that it was the wrong number for my particular thing. So then they gave me a different phone number. Then I had to do that process again. It was just the whole thing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds a lot like Mark's experience from back in April. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was I guess this would have been when I did that, it would have been like early May. Yeah, because I got laid off from my call center job. My last day was April 17th. And I mean, and let's be honest, it was technically it was a temp position, but they liked me, so they just kept having me on for new assignments. But then of course, because I worked in the corporate events industry, and go figure, industries where you're supposed to have a lot of people all gathering together in the same place are very much not kosher right now.
Yes,
so there wasn't any work for us, and so they had to let us go. Which I get it, but it just sucks.
Yeah, you would think a call center job would be a good business to be in right now, but not if it's tied to that other industry.
Not if it's tied to that other industry.
Yep.
And that's why I've been like the main source of jobs that I've been looking for have been basically remote call center type positions. And although go figure, with 50 million out of work, there's a lot more competition for each job role when we don't have jobs or income guaranteed as a human right.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating.
Yeah. We're all dealing with this stigma of being on unemployment now. People assume that you just want to stay home and relax on unemployment. None of us are doing that.
No.
Well,
and
yeah,
us
and 17 million other people. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, what kind of a stigma is that when 20% of the workforce is unemployed?
Yeah.
And then it's additional insult to injury whenever we get because like whenever we were able to like go out and do our work as musicians, we had to endure the crap of being told that, oh, it's not a real job anyway, why don't you get a real job.
Yeah.
I had to stop myself from swearing even more intensely because I get real worked up. But like
It's easy to do.
yeah, and I'm just like, I know we're live, we don't have a censor button, because I'm trying to be careful here.
Man, yeah. Well, luckily the FCC doesn't have anything to do with this stream, but
Okay, cool. Good to know.
Man, yeah, and that I mean that's a great point about the so many people on unemployment right now is breaking down that stigma.
Mhm.
That sort of assumption we have in society sometimes, and
Yeah,
that's
because like the thing about it is I've seen a whole lot of people saying like oh, why are people making more from being on sitting on their ass and being on unemployment than like working in a grocery store. And I'm like, well, the reason that that's happening isn't because the people on unemployment should be making less. It's because the big bosses and the CEOs have been siphoning the wealth that the actual workers create for decades, if
for
not centuries
decades.
at this point.
Absolutely, yeah. That
And so it's not it's and so
disparity.
it's a tactic, right? And so just to talk about like us as like unions and everything, why unions are so important, or why unions are so important is that it's a way to gather the strength of the people in any given industry. And so us as like musicians all gathering together and everything like that. um well, I was about to go on another socialist rant, insert socialist rant here, but anyway.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm just like, all right, everybody agrees with me.
But
I
we
don't
like
know
your
what this
preaching.
rant.
We're happy to hear you preaching.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, then that the breaking down the stigma and the income disparity and all this stuff. I mean, it also kind of highlights the reason that this system is so confusing, which is what we were talking about. In some ways, it is made that way deliberately to
Mhm.
discourage people from being on it to begin with, or even starting on it to begin with.
As Mickey would say, the system isn't broken, it's fixed.
Who would say that? Sorry.
My Aunt Mickey.
Oh, it's fixed. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah, there was an article probably a month ago or so about how what was it, Florida and I think it was Massachusetts. They use exactly the same computer system for their unemployment system, but the way it's set up, the way it's been set up by those governments, is different, and that's why like the Florida system is so much less effective than the Massachusetts system, even though they're technically the same piece of software running it. Just the way it's set up, the way it's programmed to collect information, to report information.
And let's be real, Florida needs the help more right now.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, yeah, they definitely.
And that's and that might be another reason, like why Florida is experiencing those problems as well. Given that it's what Miami is now the national hotspot for COVID-19,
sure. Yeah.
And given that that's happening so much, and the economic impact of that is going to be so large that it's going to drive so many people to being out of work.
Yeah.
Honestly, like in order to get out of the economic mess that this is going to place us in, we need to have like a new version of the New Deal. And it's going to require that kind of level of government spend. Like I know the Marxist rant's coming in, but like it's going to require another level of huge government intervention, just to say because it's not just because us as musicians, sure, like we can eventually we can get back to doing shows once it's like physically safe to do so. But if nobody can pay not just ticket prices or for album purchases or merchandise or for venue costs, like how many bars in Austin are going to go I was about to say extinct, about like go under with because of the ramifications. I saw a report that like 70 to 80% of local venues are going to end up being closed for good after this. Like,
Maybe even by
our
October, some of are saying. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so that just shows like how much our industry is going to be in real trouble if we don't have, not just targeted unemployment assistance and targeted economic assistance for our industry, but for the country as a whole, because they're who we perform to. And if they can't afford shit, then we
Yeah.
can't do shit.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. I mean, and the reduction of what you might call like disposable income in the economy has affected our industry over the last several decades as well. I mean, you remember
Hmm.
kids could go and buy records with their lunch money in the '60s, and now you don't have that kind of disposable income. No one does, and it's just not as free as in freedom, of a
Yeah.
society as it was, when it was more economically successful, at least here in the United States. Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. Well, so one of the things we do a lot of times on this panel discussion is we kind of share our stories about signing up for unemployment benefits and how how that went, what challenges, what you had to do, how long you had to stay on the phone. We heard about a little bit about that from you already, Win.
Mhm.
But we try to share that story in a way that doesn't get our identity stolen, obviously. But yeah, would you like to tell some of your story, Win, about how you got signed up and how that went for you?
Yeah, so I mean, after the kind of BS that I talked about earlier with being on the phones and everything like that, and my initial confusion, it's been relatively smooth for me. Fortunately, I know that there are a lot of people, especially in our industry, who've not had very much success, especially because of the sort of like freeform nature of our work.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of us will go, a lot of us won't just be like have a stable job, with like stable 9 to 5 hours or whatever. We'll have like 15 gigs, in these 2 weeks, and then not work at all in the next 2 weeks, or because it's so flexible, that can often confuse a lot of our government institutions and everything like that. Um, and so, well, my primary job was like I was working at a call center because I was still working on building up my music career in other ways and everything like that. But so since I had that, I think that contributed to why it's been relatively smooth for me. Um, but yeah, like I signed up first, and then it was because of like the additional benefits that were added by the federal government. I was actually surprised, and I felt that there was like it was more than I was going to be getting. And so I was like trying to call them afterwards after I saw the direct deposit go through. I was like, hey, is this a mistake? Like, I wasn't expecting this.
Oh
And
yeah.
but yeah, it was all legit. And I've been able to invest in music more since all this happened. Weirdly enough, it's actually like been actually fairly. I've actually been able to stimulate the economy a little bit. Like I've
Mm.
got a digital piano. Well, because I've been saving up for one for a while, but since the federal benefits came in, I was like, you know what, this is an investment. I want to really do this for my career, so I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it.
Well, and you can't
But
you can't go somewhere else and use a piano anymore either. You gotta, you
exactly
know.
right. But so yeah, that was yeah. I've had it be relatively smooth, but there was definitely some annoyances towards the beginning of the process.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, an expense like that, you just as an aside, you could definitely consider that to be a working from home uh, equipment purchase there. I mean, because
Yeah.
yeah, you can't go to the music school or something like that because they're closed usually
Mhm.
these days. Yeah. But how did the process go for you as far as like did you do your initial application on the phone or was it online or?
It was right. So I'm trying to retrace my steps here. So then, I think I mentioned earlier about like how I apparently I didn't do it in time for like my very first one. So then I had to make those series of calls and everything like that. But apparently my issue was really easy for the last person that I spoke to fix. And so they were just able to say like, oh yeah, just click this button. Yeah, go ahead and try it now. So I was able to do it online afterwards.
Oh,
And I
good.
think I think they were steering me to do it online afterwards because the massive call volumes and everything like that. And I work in a call center. I get it. You want to get people off the phone as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was able to do it online, thankfully, and I've been able to do it online every time since.
So did they, just curious, did they backdate you to the time when you first applied?
If I recall correctly, yes.
Okay.
Good.
I'd have to run the numbers again and go back and look at my bank statements or whatever, but I believe that they did. That sounds correct.
Well, it'll show you if you log on to the TWC website and you look under your payments, it'll show you what payment you got for every payment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll have
You
to
don't
do
have to
that.
go to your bank to do that. You can actually see it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and check that out then. Something that is going to change for this next time I'm going to file is that I think I'm going to be filing for the first 2 weeks of July, I think that's what it's going to end up being, or something like that. Or maybe the second or whatever, if in early the first half of July ish. Is where I'm actually going to be getting, or I'm going to need to actually put a certain other payment that I received on, because I've been able to find other part-time things this music school that I occasionally did some substitute teaching at, pre-COVID, reached out to me because one of their teachers couldn't legally teach with them until she gets her visa situation worked out, because she's she's a Mexican national, I believe. And so, yeah, she's from Mexico. And so, what's kind of absurd about her system is that, Mexico City is in the exact same time zone as Austin. And so there's no practical reason why she couldn't continue to teach her own students. But, they had to get, the local girl to do it because her visa ran out and she can't legally get paid by an American company, which is kind of weird. But anyway, so that situation kind of worked out in my favor. So then I've been kind of working part-time on Fridays and Saturdays, and that's when I teach, that section of her students. So so I got my first payment from them July 3rd or 2nd, and so then I'm gonna have to input that amount, whatever it is, and then file that that way.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that on the phone as well. Yeah, and
Mhm.
how you have to really make sure you report all that income. But since it's kind of it's a 1099 situation, it's kind of your own business. You could, you could split that, into the weeks when you actually did the work, or you could report it all when you get the check. Whereas if it was a more
Right.
employee situation, you would have to just report it when you get the check. But
Right, yeah.
yeah, and that reporting is it's important, because if you miss a week here and there, you can usually get the next week, but you have to kind of weigh the options for yourself, as far as because if you go over that minimum amount that you have, not the 600 on top, but if you go over that minimum, then you don't get a payment that week, and you don't get the 600 either. So it's definitely a source of stress, having to sort of manipulate that system that's so confusing already, and then you have to think about that stuff, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's kind of the idea behind this panel discussion, is to help folks be encouraged, that this it's possible to get this thing to work, and you shouldn't give up, because we all have to get through this thing together, and yeah, it's an industry concern, that's for sure. Yeah. What about any other news that you guys have seen about unemployment this week? I mean, I think the federal pandemic unemployment is really the big news. Yeah. Let's see. There was a posting on Texas Workforce Commission's Facebook page, about if your benefits, if this would only apply if you've been on unemployment longer than the pandemic, probably, but if your benefit weeks are running out, it says they made a post, to just keep on making the payment requests each week, and they'll figure out if whether or not you apply or you qualify for other forms of aid in there. So yeah, even if it looks like your weeks are running out, don't give up, and keep making that payment request each week, and reporting the income and the work that you do, so that you can get help, because especially
How many weeks is it
yes.
before?
Yeah, that's really the question. They added 11 weeks, and I don't actually know right off the top of my head, but it is a limited number of weeks. But there are a lot of weeks now
Right.
with all the different programs, and I think it is possible to exhaust one type of program and then jump on another. So yeah, and their advice on their website is to just keep making the payment requests. So, but yeah, that's a great question, Mark, and I don't know the exact answer, but it is out there. And yeah,
I thought originally, am I dreaming, or was it 39 weeks? Wasn't
I think you're right. Yeah, that number sounds familiar.
Yeah.
You know, and how many weeks are in a year?
52
weeks.
Really taking us to the end of the year, pretty much, if you got on in March.
Right. And I believe they added an extra 11 weeks to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's quite a lot. So and that's why it's not that big a deal, you know, if you miss 1 week, as long as you're going to be okay for the month. You know, if you make too much money 1 week and maybe you don't qualify for benefits that 1 week, keep reporting. You know, keep making the payment request, because you may qualify again, especially if you're in the music business and maybe you have a whole bunch of work 1 week and then nothing the next week. You know, that's always a challenge for us. So yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Do we have any comments in the chat here? I don't see any there, and I don't see any comments on the Facebook page. So yeah, I guess we're about ready to wrap up. Do either of you have anything else you'd like to add before we go?
No, I mean, I'm sort of struggling a little bit with the SBA.
Oh.
A little bit of a different topic here, but I did apply for an EIDL loan for my business, and kind of a fishy deal here a little bit, because when I applied, they told me, and it was on the website and it was on the application, that I would get an advance.
Yeah.
I ended up applying for the loan but never got the advance.
Really?
Which was kind of weird. And so, you know, it's one of those things where you're, you know, a minimum of 45-minute wait on the phone to get in touch with somebody. But I talked to 2 different people, and one person said, oh yeah, you're going to get the advance. It shows it on your application that you're going to get the advance. Well, I never got it. So I did another phone call, and that person told me that the week that I had applied, the advances ran out.
Really?
Yeah. So even though I was granted the advance, and it shows on the website in my application that I'm supposed to get the advance, I never got it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know that I really would have done the loan thing if I wasn't going to get the $3,000, you know. So kind of a little bit funny there, I guess.
Yeah. Well, no, that's definitely a related topic. I'm glad you said that, because I hadn't heard that from anyone else that applied for that.
Well, no, and in fact, I knew 2 other people who had applied for an EIDL loan and had gotten the loan and the advance. And so I figured it was just, you know, it would happen, right?
Yeah. Wow.
I mean,
just as a point of curiosity, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but did you take the loan, or did you refuse the loan?
Well, yeah, because I mean, when you fill out the application, in order to get the advance, you have to take the loan. Right. So at the point where I was docu-signing the application, I didn't know that I wasn't going to get the advance. In fact, I thought I knew exactly the opposite from what the person I had talked to told me and what the website said. Well, so I never got the advance. And I still haven't 2 weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I've written them 4 emails and gotten no response to any of them. And I'm just now assuming that I basically took the loan for nothing, So,
Well,
but
I mean, not for
it's
nothing,
money in
but
the bank, and you don't have to pay it back for 12 months. So
yeah,
it's not a terrible situation, but it's
yeah,
just different than I thought it was going to be.
yeah, and not as advertised. Yeah, that's frustrating, man. Yeah, but yeah, the interest rate's really low, and you can stretch it, a real
Sure.
long time
Yeah. I
ahead.
mean,
But it's yeah,
there's good things about it, but it would have been really nice to have had that bonus $1,000.
yeah,
I may still get it, but it's,
yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully that program is going to get a recharge when the rest of this stuff goes through. I mean, that's
right.
supposed to be part of the Heroes Act. We don't know how much of that is going to get passed, or if we don't even know if it will get passed right at this point, or when that's going to come in. But that is supposed to be part of it. Is a recharge to that program. There's supposed to be another round of the payroll protection program
Right.
funding as well. Which would be great. There's supposed to be more support for the arts, the arts organizations, which would really help. Our symphony, opera, and ballet in town. So yeah, we're hoping that goes through. And yeah, if you're watching at home, please please do that letter writing campaign. There's the phone call campaign. There was a big call day on Wednesday, right? Did you guys know anybody that made the call on Wednesday? There was a big AFL-CIO calling rally to the Senate on Wednesday, but you can still call. You can do the letter writing campaign. I think there's a petition you can also sign that's very easy. That Action Network, those links are always very easy to complete.
Right. Yep.
When it's a petition, it's very very quick. But even the letter writing campaigns, they always you put your contact info in, and it goes right to an example letter that you can edit if you want, or you can send it just like it is, and the whole thing takes less than a minute. It's really great. So yeah, please participate in those campaigns, because we got to get the legislators to do something here before we all get kicked out of our houses. So yeah.
Yeah, that's that last part there. So I just re-signed my lease for this apartment that we're staying in. And we're financially fine, me and my partner. So I'm not like particularly worried or anything. But we were thinking about looking for a new place and everything, but we realized we have a really weak position just because if I was laid off, and it would just be easier to not like rock the boat and just to pretend my landlord is just like, oh yeah, he doesn't need to know that I've been on government benefits since April. Like I'm still paying my rent. He doesn't need to know. But of course, like I can't really go look for another place until I have like a verified income that isn't directly from the government again, which sucks. But then anyway, not that I was itching to move in the middle of a pandemic, but we were looking to just see what other options were.
Yeah.
And we can't really do that now.
Yeah, it doesn't give you a lot of confidence to be in that situation. Yeah, that's that's wild. Yeah, and then there's just the issue of moving during all this, which people are doing, but yeah, it's not easy. It ain't like it used to be. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll close it up there. If you're watching this and you're in the music industry, please stay in the music industry. Don't give up, because we have a duty and a responsibility to our culture to continue music and the music business. And they need us now. The society will need us when this is all done. So let's get through this together by sharing information and solidarity. And Win and Mark, thank you so much for being here. And we'll see y'all next time.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
All right. Well done.